I've been kind of making music forever, really. Like back when I was a kid, and back in my scene kid days, I would like go to Central
You were
Bank
a
and
scene kid.
yeah. Well, I mean, I was a scene kid adjacent.
Oh
Like
man.
I like I hung out with scene kids. But I mean, I think that's funny because a lot of the Dublin scene of just musicians and artists
Mm.
used to like hang out at the bank. Like, I'm talking Hair Square used to hang out at the bank. I'm talking Jafars used to hang out at the bank. You'd be
Yeah.
surprised by the people who rubbed shoulders with scene kids back in the day.
And do you know what? They're a dying breed now. You just don't see them anymore. I feel like it's lost up of that culture. Jesus Christ.
No, I mean they're all doing drill now. Whenever the kids are into these days, it's not the same.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Finnterviews. I'm your host Connor Finn, and this is a show where I get to chat to the most interesting people I know. On the show this week, I was thrilled to welcome on the brilliant Max Zanga, who you may know from his band Tebi Rex. We chatted to Max all about his journey forming Tebi Rex in college, the cultural effect of the noughties scene and emo kids, Marvelous Miss Mabel, guarding giant foxes at Electric Picnic, and I even got a live music class, live and podcast. All of this ahead of Tebi Rex's latest album, It's Gonna Be Okay. Max was one hell of a guest to have on the interview. He is just so articulate and so passionate about his music and about scene kids, apparently, and their cultural effect. But you'll hear it all in this brilliant episode. So without further ado, please enjoy my latest episode of Finnterviews with the wonderful Max Zanga. Well, welcome back to another episode of Finnterviews. On the show this week, I'm delighted to welcome on the wonderful Max Zanga. How's it going, Max?
Hello. I almost waved. I realized it's a podcast.
No, keep waving. Yeah, you know what? We'll actually keep like everything, just visual kind of jokes. Like that way they'll like have to go see like a YouTube version or something. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, man. Hopefully. And do you get much pickup on the YouTube side of things? Do you find people are
Oh,
like,
fuck all. Yeah, but I mean, at least to get to see like some shitty webcam footage, like if they ever do go tune onto it, like oh god. But I can't believe I'm slating my own podcast on my podcast.
it's COVID, man. It's COVID.
It's going exactly. Here, how's it going anyways? How's the forum? You're just back there from you're back touring again. What's happening? How's it been back on the road?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think on back on the road, I think makes it sound like I've been on the road many a time. Not really. This is actually my kind of first time doing this. And I was only playing. Once again, there's only 3 shows. I was not doing like a European or world tour or nothing. But it's very tiring,
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing that, because I'm always so focused on how things make money. I'm always so curious about like the financial situations and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know how people, if you're like a smaller artist, will make a good amount of money touring, because it all just seems really expensive. And I have like not expensive taste, but I want to stay in like relatively nice places, So
Yeah, you don't want to be slumming it really. Like if you're performing a
no,
gig and then having to go back to like a hostel, you'll be like, oh, it's a bit of a knockdown.
and
Like
then you got other people in the room, and like if you have expensive equipment, it's a whole fucking thing. So that was cool because we went and did that with no intention of making money. We were just bored because Ireland's still in the situation that's in at the time. So I'm like, oh, let's get some live shows in. So it was great. Definitely gotta bring some merch or something to sell next time. But it's what it is, man.
yeah, fair enough. Like, I mean, that's it. Like, even having like to be out and be like, fuck it, lads, here, let's go do a couple of dates. Like, I mean, spices things up a wee bit, like, as you said.
Yeah, man, the vibes here in Dublin was just, man, we're both Northside babies, you get it.
Exactly, yeah. But I suppose, actually, for the rare occasion that somebody is actually listening to this, Max, that like doesn't know like about yourself or what we're talking about, like maybe tell us a wee bit, like your background, where you're from. I suppose what you're known for. Like, I mean, Tebi Rex. Like, I mean, geez, if you haven't heard of yourselves in the last couple of years, like I don't know. Like, I mean, maybe give us a bit of background to all of that and yourself, and yeah. That's the most open-ended question.
Yeah,
Tell me about
sure,
yourself.
man. Yeah, I mean, look, like I really am into like walks in the park, and I love sunsets. I'm just really
Yeah.
into that. I don't know, but obviously, like Tebi Rex is a interracial hip hop duo from Kildare. I was founded in Kildare with me and the other guy, Matt. We both went to Maynooth. And yeah, we just kind of make hip hop music, some pop music, doing some indie stuff now. And we just kind of been in the scene for a while now. Like we're fucking old at this stage. I'm young still. I'm a young boy still. But I've been doing shit for a while. I'm like I have 4 or 5-ish years now, or some shit. Um, and yeah, I mean that's the kind of backstory. I mean that's all that's like important, really, because I feel
Yeah.
like when you're telling people the story of you and your music or whatever, there's always more important, pressing stuff, or more important, interesting, or like current, up to date news. So I think, look, you just give them the generic stuff that lasts for all time, and that's it. That's all you really need to know. Nothing else is important.
Yeah, and I suppose you were mentioning there, like, obviously, you've met Maynooth and stuff like this. Like, was that like when you first kind of got into music, or like, was it kind of always something that, like, you gravitated towards? It was like part of your life, like, or
I've been kind of making music forever, really. Like back when I was a kid, and back in my scene kid days, I would like go to Central
you
Bank
were a
and
scene kid?
yeah. Well, I mean, I was a scene kid adjacent.
Oh
Like
man.
like I hung out with scene kids. But I mean, I think that's funny because a lot of the Dublin scene of just musicians and artists used to like hang out at the bank. Like, I'm talking Hair Square used to hang out at the bank. I'm talking Jafaris used to hang out at the bank. You'd be
Yeah.
surprised by the people who rubbed shoulders with scene kids back in the day. Because
See,
it was hopping. That was like a spot. Now it's not there anymore, but that was a real cultural spot.
see, we didn't have like scene kids like up or like, cause I'm from Armagh, like I mean, so very small town. But what we did have for I don't know why, and some reason, kind of like its own similarity, but like we had just a big influx of like emo kind of era. But like I feel like scene emo, they kind of were run along the same kind of lines.
To my understanding, it was once a month during a Twitter meetup that all the scene kids in the country would all migrate down to Dublin. So it was like you could be seen in Dublin, like in the same way you can be like a Liverpool fan in Kerry, but to be a Liverpool fan, you gotta live in the UK and go to the matches.
Yeah.
If you're not in the big leagues, you're just a Liverpool fan in title alone.
Yeah.
Practice. That
See,
makes sense.
we had all the emos. We used to meet outside City Hall in Belfast. Do you know what? They're dying breed now. You just don't see them anymore. I feel like it's lost up of that culture. Jesus Christ.
No, I mean they're all doing drill now. Whenever the kids are into these days, it's not the same. It's the era.
I mean, gone forgotten. Like, yeah. Okay, I have no idea how we actually got down that road to talk about seeing kids, whatever, like that. But I mean, yeah, you're saying. I think I was asking you just kind of about like whenever you started. You said you've always kind of been making music since you were young.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think that kind of era growing up where you had like the whole jerk movement, which is a very like niche hip hop thing. And yeah, I was like in a jerk crew and we were making music, and all that kind of fucking crap and carry on. But yeah, I've always been interested in music. I think it's maybe taking a more obviously serious turn when I made form Tebi Rex and started doing the college stuff for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always been interested. I'm not one of those proteges who like started a month ago and has a Grammy. I'm not that. I was bad for many years, not in a humble kind of way, just in a very honest kind of way, like legitimately bad.
Yeah, I love that you're just being like, I was just absolutely awful. Yeah, really.
I mean, I don't think there's any shame in that as well because I think natural talent is amazing and it makes life easy. I just lack, which is fine. You have to fill in the gaps your own way and figure out your own way and make it work your own way.
Yeah, but I suppose that's it. Anyways, like, and I suppose with like what has like been known as like the kind of like Tebi Rex sound all like this, like it's interesting, I suppose, seeing where like your kind of like background just came into it and like how obviously it's moved around. Because I remember when like I first heard, like I never got off this bus, like. Or like Jesus Christ, like I remember being like, who are these guys? Like, what is this? Like, I suppose, especially with like whatever I find out that you're like an Irish kind of like group as well, as you're like, holy shit. Like, I feel in the last couple of years, especially, I've just kind of been like honing in, being like the amount kind of like new rising talent or like stuff like that's really taken off everywhere else. Like, but I suppose like, is there any kind of like inspiration, like, suppose between like whenever you do kind of go in to be like, right, we're going to make a track, or is it something like completely organic that's like, here, man, I've just kind of been like playing around with some ideas, like.
Um, no, I think, look, I think we've done the planned stuff before. If you go, like, because obviously you go with an organized concept and maybe what you want, but that's always once the writing process has already started and you've already felt something. I think if you go in, and we have done this where it's like, oh, I would like to make a Men Are Trash too. Okay, what's the interesting hook? Okay, how do we make this? And then it just doesn't work. Those songs end up not making projects, or if they do make projects, not being highlights on them. So, I mean, it's whatever, really. I think you pull off an idea, off a word, off a beat, off a sound, and then see where that takes you. Like, I'm trying to think of this new project, the same thing that was really good. Oh, I was watching, for example, I was watching a lot of the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is Amazon Prime show.
Yeah.
It's
plugged
fucking
there.
great. Have you seen it yet?
No. I feel like everybody's told me about this show, and I've still just been like, oh man, yeah, I'll catch it when, like, I feel like if a show isn't like, if I don't see it whenever it's like right starting off and real big buzz about it, I'm just not gonna go to it. Like,
and that's how we don't get fucking multiple seasons of shit though, because people want to, they want the big buzz. Like, it's on Prime, and it's the same one who made Gilmore Girls. But anyways, whatever about the show, but the main context is it's about this one trying to be a comedian in like 1950s, 60s in Europe. And she's a woman, all that kind of stuff. And it does such a great, it really replicates like a white comedy should be considered as an art form. It really kind of gives a good exploration of this topic and what it means to like working jokes and being a comedy show and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make a song on an album called Fair Last of Lampy, which we wanted to feel like you were in a comedy club and like a jazz comedy club.
Yeah.
So it's we mix the song first, and then, for example, we mix the song. It's not mixing like this is too clean of a mix. It's not live. It needs to feel like it's a live song.
Yeah.
So we like made the mix a little bit worse. And we have jokes in the song like to punctuate the raps.
Yeah.
And what's interesting now is every time we perform the song, we're not supposed to do the joke changes each performance live. So there's this thing of it's a constantly evolving song from when you heard it last.
Yeah.
But that's because I was fucking at home for ages watching this show. I started it during lockdown 1, watched the 3 seasons of it. And I watched it again during lockdown 3. It's like one of my favorite shows of all time. So that's what I mean. It's really whatever. It's really, really whatever.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting like, man, like, what's the inspiration behind your stuff? Have you ever seen Marvelous Miss Maisel?
Yeah.
For some reason, that it was initially where my thought process was going with being like, do you know what I mean? Like Dead Man 2, like,
I mean, like Dead Man 2 as well. That's funny. Yeah, I think it's all random, really. I think a lot of rappers really talk about personal experience and stuff that they like, they dealt with, all this kind of stuff. And like we try to obviously with this, I think the new stuff get more personal for sure, but also to put a twist on things, because if you can make a song, you can make a world, and you're consuming so much media and so much inspiration, why not make a twist on it? Even if it's your same flavor of bullshit. I think Marvel do that a lot, right? They're like, this is a Marvel film, but it's like a spy thriller. Yeah. Oh, this is a Marvel film, but it's like a horror movie. It's like, for example, like Dead Man 2, I was like, oh, what if you made a song? What if you made a song that kind of felt a bit like a funeral procession, but it was lit. It was like terrible and horrible. It's a funeral and you're sad that someone's died and that this person's life is coming to an end, but you also celebrate their existence. So it sounds lit. It feels lit. And then we have like a song coming out, Dead Man 1, which is we did the exact opposite. We wanted to make something that felt like someone trying their hardest to be positive as everything falls apart around them. So
Mm.
it sounds super fun. It sounds super poppy. It's like real like a summer bop. And every lyric is just like drenched in like melancholy. It's miserable.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I could make a song talking about those feelings, and those songs have been good, and they'll probably be more successful than the shit we come out with these two. But I don't fucking know, man. Like you gotta be doing this to do what you want, if nothing else. Because otherwise, I should sign to a label and just do what they tell me to do, and be really rich and well off, but not creative control. So
Yeah. Sorry. Like I've never felt like more like bland. So, like, sorry. Mate, what age are you again? Like,
oh, I'm 24. What age are you?
I'm 23. Sorry, the way that you're like
Oh.
discussing about like, yeah, like, do you know what I mean? Like the mix of melancholy with like, adjacent to something. Like I used to study music, like, and I was being like, I feel like such a dick. Like, I never wrote songs. I could never do that. I would have been playing trad and stuff like as well. But like, I used to be like, I feel like this man has like experienced some stuff. I was just like sitting back going like, yeah, no, like I totally get that creative process.
No, that's because you're like, I think the simple answer is I think no, the answer to that is as simple as just you're not a fucking wanker. Like that's it. Like I did a fucking English degree, so a lot of time you like I think like music theory is probably understanding. Like it's like spend a
Yeah,
lot of times
yeah,
understanding how something works.
yeah,
And I think English is like understanding how to describe how something works. I think
yeah,
that's a main difference, man. But yeah, I think everyone has that one thing that they know uh, they can be basically a fucking wanker about, and they can talk like a wanker about. Everyone has that one thing where that's it, because you really gotta be like, oh, why? Like someone could be like, oh yeah, this painting is just a blue fucking canvas. Let me give you a fucking hour
yeah,
on why it's so important that it's this shade of blue, etc., etc., etc.
yeah.
I don't know. Art's weird, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, suppose I mean, it's more credit to yeah. I was just like feeling myself be like, oh god, I really wasn't prepared
Mm.
for this. I was like, yeah, like I really like the beat.
I mean, look, we can take it. We can take it where you want. You know what's funny? You know what's gas? I do. I teach music workshop classes to kids a lot of the time.
Yeah,
If you want, we can do a class now. We can like explore that. We can like,
yeah.
oh,
I mean, God, yeah, send off. I'll live music class for
okay.
Max.
So, why do you like the beat?
Why do I like the beat?
Yeah.
Usually, like for like, I never got off the bus, like,
Mm,
because it makes you want to dance. Like,
okay. So you like the beat because it kind of makes you want to dance. What about the beat makes you want to dance? Like, give me the breakdown of
like,
how it's like structured and sounding to
so
you.
like the tempo of it kind of like
Mm.
gets you kind of bit grooving into it. Like, it makes you kind of want to be like a wee bop in your room. So whenever I'm listening to music, usually on the radio or something like that, so whenever you hear something that kind of gets you going, like kind of gets you moving about, that's catches my ear.
And what part do you feel like it's the most dancey for you? Would you say it's a chorus or actually the verse? Like, what to use the most kind of dancey part?
Like, usually the chorus, I suppose, would be
Mm.
like that'd be like the main kind of go to. Like, do you know what I mean? Well, I mean, I love to say the verse, but like I do not remember the lyrics to any song ever.
But look, that's I think that's so key, right? So you're saying that for you, while lyrics may be important, the key thing is that kind of rhythm. You
Yeah,
love a
yeah.
fast tempo. You like a build. You like a drop. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. It's the child musician in me. See,
Mm,
all I work off is like there's a bit of a beat, and then there's some tunes that go along beside it, and then it's like, oh yeah, remember these lyrics? I go, absolutely not. I wasn't listening.
mm.
Like,
But look, I think that's it. I think you're like kind of saying that it responds to and reminds you of tribe music, but that's elements of tribe music you like, and you
yeah.
find that akin in maybe that song. So you like pop or hip hop songs that kind
Mm,
of carry that tradition on. I think
mm.
there is something there about well, what I find interesting about tribe as well, and correct me if I'm wrong there, it doesn't so much like build as much as it seems to be a little bit more consistently up there.
Yeah, yeah. Like, depending on what kind of tune, like, yeah, it'll just be kind of like it's weird. It kind of sounds like from the outside that's just consistent, like,
Mm,
or it'll change whatever like this. but it's a bit like jazz where every person, because it like is kind of old, it changes from each person playing it, or some people put in like variations, like ornamentations, that kind of way. So that's what kind of keeps it a little bit like being like, geez, that went weird.
But look, that's free forming music. So I think a lot of times when you talk about songs with drops, like you're talking about, it starts off very small, crescendos and builds. I think I Never Got the Bus is interesting because it starts off straight away from that first kick drum, that boom, boom, already there. So when it does eventually go there, you've been kind of lit the whole time there.
Yeah.
Which I mean, yeah, because even like my friend's really into like, what's he call? He calls it old time, which is like not trad. He does play with trad motherfuckers, but it's like basically like American trad, you know what I'm saying? Like Yankee trad.
Like bluegrass kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like
man. And yeah, it kind of is that kind of thing of like, even though a crescendo to there, it never really starts at the I noticed anyways. But yeah, look, I mean, that's an artistic discussion. There's a bit of music class for people listening there, you know.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. I mean, there we go. They got that for free. Jesus Christ. My God.
Easy, man. You know, like pop music, rap music, and trad, man. But look, there you go.
I mean, yeah, you got to draw back somewhere. I feel like I've taken, you know, got a proper little lesson there. Be like, man, why'd you enjoy that? And be like, now I kind of get why. But I suppose, like, I mean, obviously, this is all, you know, music's always been part of your life, and it's kind of been part of your, like, I mean, you can tell how you talk about it. Like, it's so integral to, like, how you view things and, like, how you get, like, inspired by different things and stuff as well. Like, but I suppose, like, before this kind of life, I suppose, professionally, is as, like, a music artist, like, in this, like, kind of world, like, that is, you know, producing, like, records and, you know, coming out with these things, like, you know, songs, hits, you know, going performing. Like, I'm kind of interested in, like, kind of character building jobs sometimes that, like, I feel like inform the kind of person that you are today. I don't know if you've had many kind of like jobs. Well, I call these character building because it's basically like the ones that are shite, but like you kind of have to do them to humanize yourself a little bit. I don't know if you've had many like interesting jobs that maybe have fed into what is what is Max Zanga today.
I've made a very purposeful decision to always try to work smart as opposed to hard.
Okay, I'm interested where you're gonna go with this.
No, because like, for example, like I'm very proud of this. I've never worked retail a day in my life. I feel like a young person.
You dodged a fucking bullet.
No, and the thing is, because I was like, if I'm gonna do something, so for example, I've had like a couple interesting jobs, couple like semi-customer facing this kind of hotel thing, but like mostly like I've gotten jobs and gotten positions by like knowing people and like having a friend. So I have like a very wide, at least I did have a very wide social net. It's a bit smaller when you leave college. So like I worked as a kind of security guard / steward for like almost 2 years. And I think that was probably like my most draining job. But that was like super you got called the week of or week before about you know what was up next week or what's going on like a month, what do you want to do. So it's very much pick and choose. So I worked based on how much money I needed. But I've had that was probably like, I'm too anxious like stand in one place. But you ever go to EP, for example? You ever go to Electric Picnic?
I never got to Electric Picnic ever. I know. Wow. Don't give me. Wow. Believe me. I know how embarrassing that is to say.
You've been to festivals though, right?
Yeah. Like
what festivals?
Like, okay, like C sessions, like, and then there's like, which isn't really as big. I know, come on, right? Yeah. So I haven't been to that many festivals.
You've been to C sessions, that's it.
No, like then there's other ones, like never proper camping out ones, like Belsonic, there's 10th Fiddle, like been to loads of concerts, but never proper festivals. Yeah, wow, I know. Okay. And 23, I know this is a sad moment.
Well, I mean, listen, fairness to you, for 2 years it wasn't a fucking option. So really, you're 21 in festival years. I mean,
basically, yeah. I'll keep clocking it back. Yeah.
So I would say if you've ever been to EP, there's this thing in EP. I don't know if it's there anymore, but there's these two huge foxes made out of sticks. I'm talking like bigger than like a house, or maybe as tall as a house, like a real cool art piece.
Yeah.
And for my first year ever going to EP, I was 18. I was 18 working on it. And it said my job for that weekend was to guard these two massive art pieces and make sure no one climbs it, pisses on it, or has sex up against it.
Okay, that was like your the main
That was my
criteria.
job. But some of the days it was like, all right, stand by these foxes for 14 hours. Bye.
Yeah.
I just stood there. I if you're security at a festival, you also have people come up to you, have all sorts. Like you have like an interesting time. You really get a feel of people and that kind of stuff. But I guess that's like my most character building job. Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure, yeah, stopping people from humping up against a big wooden fox, that probably gives a good bit of material, yeah, to be like, guys, I think I got a good idea for like a song.
Plus, I think it's opposition behavior. If people want to have sex up against it, let them have sex up against it. I don't want to be stopping no person. I support their right to do so. But look, the role is the role. I gotta do what I gotta do. Unfortunately, man. But I don't know. I think maybe like that's why most of the Tebi Rex shit is so upbeat, because I haven't worked retail, so I'm not fucking miserable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who knows? I will say I never had to work retail, but service industry, yeah, like catering and stuff. No, that yeah, did that for a couple of years, get me through like whenever I finished off secondary school, started into college, and like as soon as I had like a night, I was like, no, like my last day, I literally remember a woman coming in, like 2 children in hand, and I was like, sorry, like just it's going to take a wee while, like don't have any tables ready, and she literally just turned around, she's like, you can go shove a table up your ass, and I was like, yeah, this is about the right time to leave. I was like, yeah, I feel like whenever you start to get a little bit like resentment towards strangers, then you should be like, this probably isn't the right mental capacity I should be in this young.
I have a problem. I have beef with you service industry people.
Oh wow.
I have beef, but hear me out though, because like basically, my housemate, I guess my former housemate now, Sarah, she recently moved to London, and she's telling me about her new job and how much she makes on tips. And she's like, yeah, I mean, I made like €100 a night on tips, and this is kind of a nice enough area, like,
right.
Sorry, like let's say like on a Friday or Saturday, she might make €100 on tips. I'm like, how much do you make on average on tips? And she's like, well, it depends on the place. But she's like, certain, like if you work service in certain restaurants, you're talking like maybe €100 a night on tips, maybe more if you're working in a nice enough area. And I was doing the math. I'm like, how much do you make on your wages? And it worked out like if you worked in the right restaurant, you could be making like, including tips, it was like 45, maybe 50K. And I was like, man, I heard this industry was fucking god. I mean, look, then it's like you gotta deal with bullshit, obviously. Like if you're getting bullshit for minimum wage, I think that's fucking terrible. If you're getting like dealing with bullshit for like 50K, I'm like,
I mean, it's I mean, you could be doing other bullshit for 50K. Like there's a lot you could be dealing with
that's a problem.
Lot for a lot less, like as well.
You couldn't just casually be dealing with other bullshit for 50K. You'd be dealing with other bullshit for like 30. So I'm like,
yeah.
Which I mean, look, it sucks that it's like on the kind of whimsy of patrons or whatever. But damn, that doesn't sounds kind of good. Were you making tips? Were you making tip money?
Well, this was part time when in Armagh, like this, tiny little culture town. Yeah, so there definitely wasn't anything like £100. Like it'd be maybe like you'd bank all your tips like with all the rest of stuff because they're class like that. And then next thing, kitchen, like the owner and stuff would take some, and then you'd be like, interesting. So no, mine was below minimum wage and shit tips. So. I mean, whenever you're saying about like people doing well off, I'm being like, fucking fair play to them. I have no idea how I
did. Yeah, no, like, look, no one should be, like, no kitchen staff should be getting cut in on tips. I'm sorry, like, all respect to them. You're not customer facing, but I mean, I like the idea of it being pulled together, especially as a fella, because like you're not getting tipped as well as like women, or at least people, at least you know what I'm saying, like a peer female. So it's like because men are creeps, so they're probably paying better. But yeah, I think that's why I always try tip in cash when I'm ever doing the tip thing. I'm like, I'm like, hey, straight up,
Well, if your main kind of concern with service industry workers was that they can actually like make good money off it, I feel like that's not too bad of like a main concern.
No,
Like,
not even a concern. It's not smoke like you're saying, but
yeah, like, but yeah, I get what you mean. It's been like if you're being like, oh, this shit, this job is like gun shite, and then it's been like, well, if it pays that well, is it that bad?
yeah, I mean, you still be asked, but I mean, sometimes money is nuts.
Yeah, yeah.
Money's a nuts thing, anyways.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well,
very sorry.
I suppose I mean from I suppose there's a bit of character building in not having to have been completely squandered doing some desperate jobs. And I mean, if some of like the most heartbreaking some ones have been like stopping people from shagging on like a bit of an
Mm.
art piece, that's not the worst situation to come out of. But I suppose like I mean, now, like in this kind of, as a musician in this kind of artist music industry world, like I suppose coming out from that, like, have there been any major standout moments that, like, working, creating music constantly, like, have there been any moments like working in this industry that you like have happened that you never imagined could have happened?
I mean, look, I've always wanted to do the Late Late Show. I think that was definitely a high point for me. Just to
Yeah.
be on national television, performing music is was like a goal. I think, and this may be the shitty thing about doing this, right? Is that everything seems super impossible and super far away.
Yeah.
And then when things start to kind of happen, if you don't take a beat, it might not that it'll feel normal, but I think the gravity of stuff doesn't hit you sometimes until after the fact, which is I
Yeah.
think a real shame. Because I'll look at videos from like past EP performances, I'll be like, wow, that's like a lot of people. That's like a I was like a man, like that tent is full. That's
Yeah.
I just like damn, I think I definitely knew it was important at the time. But yeah, looking back at it, I'm like, wow, like we've like met like Post Malone and crazy shit like that. So it's
Jesus.
I think it's something that yeah, there's so many of those. I think it's the main thing is to constantly keep pinching yourself and yeah,
Is there any that like would be like standout like performance or like standout like meeting someone that you've kind of went like, oh yeah, literally pinch me moment?
I would say doing Little Big Ten EP was probably for me anyways because I think a headline show is cool. The headline show is
Yeah.
like you get like 300, 400, 500, and you have that many people supporting you in a room is amazing, obviously, because that's like such a such
Mm.
a cool thing. But I think with festivals, it's a little interesting because you really might like. I mean, our EP set, for example, well, it must have been like 5,000 people there, 10,000. I don't
Jesus
know.
Christ.
Internally, you can never pull like a headline show. Like we couldn't pull 5,000, 10,000 people into.
Yeah.
But I think just because of festivals and people just legit listening, hearing something be like, "Fuck, I'll come to this," and it's really insane to look at and be like, "That's so many people. It's everything." So I think that was definitely a standout for me, anyway. So.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's pretty full circle. Come on now. I mean, from like being like, yeah, I used to like work over there. Like, yeah, just garden that. Like, our piece is like dive on stage. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean?
I remember I was the year I worked security for. What's funny is I was working security. I was like hanging out, did all this kind of shit. And I saw your man Lilo Blues from Hairspray. And he's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm working, man. What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm playing." I'm like, "That's cool, I guess." Because we would have been in terms of full circle, we would have been like seeing kids at the odd time hanging out together at the bank.
Yeah,
And he's like, "You should be playing here, man. You shouldn't be working here. You should be playing
yeah.
here." And I'm like, "Fuck, yeah. I definitely should." And then next year I played. Mind you, it was not that tense. It took me
Yeah.
like 3 tries at EP to get the little big tent, the big one. But so the next year I was playing like the Oxjam stage, which was much
Yeah.
smaller, but playing nonetheless, man.
Yeah, Jesus. I suppose like from the flip side of that, like it's like because it sounds like you've had like a pretty good experience so far with kind of like, you're working with people that like, or, you're meeting people like from that kind of like the Teen Kids days and like being able to like perform in like amazing stages and stuff like this. Like, have there been any like major like horror stories kind of like from working in like an industry that I imagine is on one side really great community, and especially in the kind of Irish music scene, but like on the other side, like can come with just so many fucking knockbacks and so many like just shite, deals happening here and there.
I mean, I think it's all horror stories, and that's not in like a. I'm a particularly negative person,
Yeah.
but yeah, the reality of it is like, yeah, it's all fucking, it's all that. Like, I think all like,
Yeah.
because nothing equivalent exchange, man. Like, you can't have these great moments and
Mm.
like, not that they happen easily, but
Mm.
it's like when you have momentum, it's less work for it.
Mm.
It's like it's almost like, I think the best example is you take all these exams to be like a fucking, let's say, a barrister, right? Or a
Yeah.
solicitor. It's all these exams, all this work, da, da, da. And then you're like, to be a barrister, you're like, you study in the third college for years, da, da, da.
Yeah.
Then you start up and you like, it costs so much money and time. But once you pass the line and finally become like a fully qualified barrister with clients, it's
Yeah.
just easy. It's easy money. It's like, oh, you want to speak to me for an hour, that's 300 euro. It
Yeah.
becomes a very easy process. So you have to like, music is like that, where you break your back doing all this stuff for free, spending money, spending a fortune, like
Mm.
no income from it to get stuff going, to like pay for pure. Like, paying for pure and you're not making money off music feels insane. It's like, I'm paying 500 euro for this thing that right now is a hobby. And then
Yeah.
you make it to a certain level and it becomes easy in the sense of, it's more accessible. It's not the same kind of
Yeah.
backbreaking work hours. You have management, you have a booking agent, and you have a
Mm.
publisher, and da 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 da. But there's also everything that comes with it in terms of being seen. Like, I mean, I remember we did the Late Late, and Brezzy, of all people, because we're doing it with the Blizzards at the time, gave some really good advice. He said, no matter what you do, don't go on Twitter after this. It's like, no matter, it doesn't matter how you do, what
Yeah.
happens, X, Y, and Z. He said, don't go on Twitter after this. And yeah, I mean, like, you go on TV to rap some songs about feeling down and like
Mm.
mental health, and then there's people, calling you the N-word, telling you kill yourself. It's like, thanks,
Jesus.
bro, but
Sick. Thanks, guys.
I mean, that's real cool. That's real fine, I guess. But that's
Yeah.
it. That's what it is, man. That's what it is. So yeah, I mean, horror stories, a ton. It is what it is, man. Good and bad.
Yeah, yeah, I suppose I know, because like also if you look from the outside, everybody's always been like, oh, do you know what I mean? Like, that's like, somebody's performing, or they're big songs, turnaround stuff like this. Like, I suppose it's always kind of humanizing to bring it back to being like, there's always going to be some wankers that are going to kind of like make it harder for you, or like kind of like fuck it up a wee bit. But then I suppose, as you said, like, you kind of like, it levels out though, because then the good stuff you see is really good, because there's like all the other shit that you've went through to kind of get to that, and then you do like the, oh damn, okay, like, that wasn't the worst thing in the world. Yeah, come on. Yeah, if all it is really like Twitter's on wankers on Twitter, like, do you know what I mean?
I mean, it's just, I think it's so stupid to be like, oh, it's what comes with being in the public eye, because obviously,
Yeah.
like, you're fucking nobodies. But
Yeah.
I think it's what comes. It's like what comes with being in the public peripheral vision. How about that? It's like, you don't even really need to be in there, because but the bigger you get, the more of this you get. Even if you're not really, like, I think Denise Chyla has gone through so fucking much
Yeah.
this last year, and she really hasn't done anything wrong. But so of course you could say to her, hey man, it's amazing, what you do is amazing, you're having a great life, and oh, everything's sweet for you, man, you're getting paid to do this and this and that. But it's like, it might be like, hey, I cannot actually go on social media, I cannot go there, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. And people are weird, I might have to deal with like a creepy producer, I might have to deal with this, all this kind of stuff. But I think it's like industries, I think it's anything with fucking power really can get can go left very easily.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so fair. Like, and I suppose, like, I mean, moving on from that, like, like, from all the stuff that's kind of been, like you're saying, like, this last couple of years should have been, like, I suppose I've seen it only in the last kind of couple, 2, 3 years, yourselves getting, like, blown up. And, like, obviously, this has been a thing
Mm.
that, like, you've been working towards. And, like, as you said, they're, like, even going around doing a couple shows, you're, like, still be like, it doesn't really feel like anything kind of big tour, but, like, I mean, you guys are really building momentum so much quickly. Like, what does the kind of future kind of hold for yourself? Like, and like Tebi Rex, like, are there any big goals like that you're looking to achieve yet that you don't like haven't done yet?
We have. I always try to give myself like 3 goals a year, and 3 goals that seem achievable. Um,
Yeah,
I think the first year we started, I said I want to play EP. I'm like, I want to play EP. I want to play EP.
yeah.
And we did do that, and there's 2 others. Right now, I want to. I want to say this year, next year, because I think COVID messed up a little bit. But in terms of goals, I just kind
Mm,
of I want to hit 1 million streams on a single song. Um,
mm,
I want to play more international shows,
mm.
and I wanted to switch to do music full time, which is what I do now. So I think I'm like, I also wanted an agent. So I'm like two. I'm like 2 out of 4.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, look, I think what's next? You just kind of do what you can when you can, and see what the crack is. Like I'm not too stressed about anything else really. I think you're supposed to have fun with this when you can, while you can. So you're gonna release this album, gonna play shows, gonna, you know, see what happens. In terms of what's next, that's up to people booking us, I guess. I ain't got no. All I can do is make a project and sit my ass down. Like,
yeah. You got your ducks in line. Yeah, it's just to see how the kind of cater out for
mm,
next week. But
yeah, it's,
Jesus,
it's out of my hands. It's out of my hands to some extent.
yeah. Oh God. Well, I mean, I suppose that's the only way that you can really work around it, man. Like, but I was wondering just before I kind of wrap it up because I've noticed that between the Wi-Fi cutting out and me chatting shit about trad and like seeing kids and stuff for a while, I've probably had you on this way longer than I expected. You're probably being like, "Give me fucking, let me have my dinner."
No,
But I
I'm
was
sure I'm
wondering.
having a good conversation. I'm chill.
But I'm wondering just before we kind of like wrap up, anyways, just because I have to go do shopping as well. But I've been taking down some kind of words and stuff here, like just kind of throughout the interview, and I was wondering if you do like a bit of a word association game with me.
Sure, sure, of course.
Yeah. So like, some of them are words or phrases, but like basically, we're just gonna go for it, and whatever the first thing comes to mind, don't think about it. Just
Mm,
go with whatever comes to mind. Okay,
mm.
are you ready?
Let's go. Let's hit it.
Okay. First off is Marvelous Miss Maple.
Best TV show of all time.
Electric Picnic.
Great crack.
Scene Kids.
Essential.
Late Late Show.
Cocaine.
A Million Streams.
Nice.
Twitter.
So complicated. Complex. I'll say complex.
Complex.
Complex for sure.
And finish it off. Finnterviews.
Podcasts are better.
Huh? I mean, you said it, not me. I mean,
Mm,
there, it's record there. Like, I mean, there wasn't even a prompt for that. Honestly, God,
No,
it's
podcasts are better. Podcasts are absolutely better because you don't get time to bullshit on a regular interview. Like we wouldn't be able to talk about seeing kids and talk about it would have been very. I think interviews can be very functional.
mm,
I think podcasts, by their nature, are supposed to feel like conversations,
yeah,
as opposed to like a direct back and forth. So I think
yeah,
podcasts are better. That's why I did this. I think if we do interviews, and mostly you'll find that if someone asks for an interview, if you look at like the small print or whatever, it will be Matt of Tebi Rex. I just kind of don't do them because it's the same questions, it's the same kind of stuff. And but if it's
mm,
a podcast, something more long form, I'm like, yeah, I'm free. I'll do that. I'll do that because I find those interesting and enjoyable. But if it's like an interview of like, how did you guys meet? What's your favorite color? Who are all your inspirations? Oh, yeah. I just don't do that. I just don't do
yeah.
it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's fucking music to my ears. Usually, I'm the one being like, will you have like time to spare like 45 minutes to an hour, and people being like, can we do that in 20? And I'll be like, yeah, no, that's completely fine. I'll just like, we'll see whatever can happen through it. But yeah, at least you kind of get to, have a bit more crack on this, and like you kind of get to like explore things a bit more than just, I suppose, as you said, like the usual kind, just like, yeah, what's happening? Where are you going? Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a deeper conversation.
Exactly.
Deeper,
Yeah. Well, I'm delighted that you like enjoy it more than because I'm always just being like, God, I'm just wasting this person's time. But I mean, Max, I suppose after all this, if people have kind of been listening, and I suppose they've somehow only discovered you come through me, that it's not happening at all. But like, I suppose, where do they follow all the rest of your stuff? Where can they find out, the next gig, next everything else? Like, where's the best place to see is find you?
Yeah, I think I mean, look, follow us on Instagram at Tebi Rex official. Follow us on Twitter at Tebi Rex. Yeah, that's basically it. That's the best way to stay up to date in terms of what we're doing, where we're at, blah 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 blah. And I guess you can like yeah, that's it really. I don't know. I mean, like, you can follow our management page, but then it's like really that's needlessly complex. You can just follow Tebi Rex page.
Just follow it. Jeez, guys, just make
Sorry,
it easy.
I don't know why. It's real easy. Just follow some fucking social media, bro. I don't fucking know. It's fine. It's okay.
It's whatever.
It's whatever, man. Come on.
Just stream your songs 1,000,000 times and it'll be cool. Yeah,
you know what I mean? I need a meal, man. I never got off the bus like 20,000 off a meal, so you guys could really like buckle down. Really,
yeah. Do you know what I mean? This actually, won the #1 comedy podcast in Albania. So
wow.
There's actually, you just wait. There'll be fucking the Albanians be all over this shit.
You know, I'll have a look at the analytics after this comes out, and actually, I'll let you know, man. I'll let you know the vibes is, man.
You'd be like, Connor, what's going on here? What kind of audience you have? No, sir, honestly, it has been a pleasure. After what has been one of the worst Wi-Fi connections for us being probably the closest guests I've ever had.
It bees like that, man. It fucking bees like that.
But here, it's been a pleasure regardless. Anyway, I always kind of said when I start off to this podcast that like, if I get anybody of it, like that I'm interested in onto show, I'd be laughing. So like anytime that people actually get back to me that I'm like, shit, I really like their work, and they're like, yeah, let's chat about it, I'm always like, freak, that's like amazing. So no, honestly, thank you for taking our time on your Monday evening, like to come chat to me. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Sweet, it's been banter, man. Thank you for having me.
No worries, man. Well, here, have a good one anyways, and best luck with everything in the future. All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Finnterviews. If you enjoyed this podcast or again any of the other episodes, please do remember to give us a like, share, subscribe, a comment, and a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening on. All that stuff is so helpful. I cannot stress it enough. But as well, on top of that, if you'd like to keep up to date with everything Finnterviews, you know the score by now, give us a follow. Give us a wee like, do you know what I mean? Just hop onto social media there. I'm on everything from Instagram to Facebook, TikTok, to Twitter. You can find me on Finnterviews, Finnterviews Pod, and Finnterviews Podcast. Just type in online Finnterviews and you'll find me all there. On to next time. Thanks again for joining in, and I'll chat to you later. Bye.